here. Welcome back to the DTF Motorsports YouTube channel. Doing another update on the 79. This will probably be the last update on the 79 before it's tore down to go to paint, I hope. Yeah, my body guy did come over and he started fixing some things. There's a huge dent on the back of the cab corner right here that he fixed. Right here on the bed was bowed in. So he fixed that before he tore it apart, and then he worked on that cab where it's hitting the front and got that kind of straightened out before he tore it apart to make sure it lines up with the hood. So yeah, I'll go through and give you a rundown of what I've been doing on this thing since the last update video, and do a little teaser of what the paint might be. I started sandblasting powder coating parts for this thing. I got my powder coat color picked out. I found out that I will probably be the only person in the United States that has this powder coat color because you can't buy it in the United States. So luckily one of my Instagram followers lives in Canada. The company's in Canada, so I'm gonna buy it, ship it to his place, and then he's shipping it to me. So that'd be pretty cool. I'll definitely have a unique powder coat color on this thing. So I know the truck looks pretty similar to the last video, but I actually did make a lot of progress on this thing. You know, just a lot of tedious stuff, put together, take apart, put together, take apart. You know, going through and measuring everything, getting everything lined up straight. Yeah, I got suspension all figured out, hood's on. I had to take that on and off quite a few times to get everything aligned right with the fender aprons and everything. And yeah, I had to move the axle back and forth quite a few times with that new rear lift leafs. Drive shafts in, got my battery hold downs done. Bodywork guy came over and fixed a lot of the big dents and issues that we were worried about. So he wanted to get those straightened out before we took the truck apart. Yeah, made quite a bit of progress. I'll go over everything in depth here in a minute. And like I said, hopefully this is the last update video before the thing gets torn down and get it sent off to paint. So I'm gonna get started with the suspension. We'll go over that first. I got my lift kit in. I went with the full 7-inch lift kit. It's dual rate coils from Icon, and I got the full 7-inch lift leads from PMF in the rear. Those are actually for a 2011 plus 2011 to, you know, I think it goes up to 19 or something. So they're the longer leafs, so they get a softer ride out of them. And man, do those things have some travel. When I was putting those in, I mean, the wheel well was basically level with the top of my head, and those leafs were still drooped all the way down to the axle. Those leaf springs are impressive. I was kind of skeptical about, you know, soft ride leaf springs. I didn't think it'd make that big of a difference, but man, they are, those progressive leafs are insane. Definitely worth the money. So yeah, 7-inch dual rate coils from Icon in the front. I am going to have to add a leveling kit to the front. I figure the 7-inch coil, 7-inch leaf, it would have sat level, but it actually is 7-inch over factory front and rear, so it still has the factory rake. So I'm gonna add like 1.5 inch leveling kit to the front just to get this thing sitting good and level. Obviously these radius arms are coming off. Those are from the 6-inch Pro Comp that I had before. I'm gonna do a 4-link kit like I did on my OBS here, custom made bracket and 4-link bars. The only difference is on this truck, I'm gonna make a long arm kit. So basically the mount will be on the frame in the center of that door. So about where that trans cross member is. And the 4-link bars will go from there all the way to the axle. And it's gonna have a integrated trans cross member support built into it. So all that factory radius arm mount and trans support, all that stuff will be gone. So I haven't cut it out yet. I do have it designed, so I'll insert my pictures and my CAD stuff in this video just so you guys can see it. I'm just waiting for more consumables to come in for my plasma cutter for the plasma table, and then I'll get that stuff cut out and mount it up in here. Yep, I also went with the Icon 2.0 aluminum remote reservoir shocks. I actually have them up there right now. Just got them out of the way so I had a safe spot to store them. There's no purpose in me putting them on right now. So yeah, the truck should ride really good. I'll be super happy with the suspension setup. So yes, it's got a really good height to it. The back of the bed is actually about where the height will be, but so like eye level on me is about here. I'm like 5'10", 5'11", so it's pretty tall. Definitely making the 38s look kind of small. So like I had mentioned in previous videos, I want to go up to a 40 by 15.5. So that should fill these wheel wells pretty good. And yeah, I'm really happy with the height though. I rolled it out of the garage the other day, and I had the hood up, and I don't think it would have fit out of the door if I would have left the hood up. I'm glad I was paying attention. And so another thing I got down is I got my correct drive shaft in here now. Previously I had this one in here, which was from my 2011 6.7, and it wasn't the carrier where that's located wasn't quite in the right location, but it was enough to where I could move the truck in and out under its own power. So, but yeah, I had this one, it's the 601 modified at my work. They shortened it because it's out of a 2.0 drive, and put new flanges on it, new carrier bearings, new U-joints, all that. So that lines up perfect. Actually, when I first did my lift leafs and I went to go put this drive shaft in, it was too long. It was fully compressed. I got it in there, but it was fully compressed when I got it in there. And what ended up happening was, since these are 2011 leaf springs, I had to move this shackle forward right here. And I moved it too far forward, and these leaves pushed my axle forward about 2 inches. And then the wheels weren't lining up with the wheel well housing on the bed. So my axle was too far forward. So I had to move the front hangers again. I moved them back about 2¼ inches, and that recentered my axle, and now my drive shaft fits perfect. So that problem got resolved. But that was a project trying to put these on in here without I don't have a lift in here. So just use those tall jack stands, and these soft ride, long travel, progressive rate leaf springs from PMF are crazy. I had these jack stands pretty much maxed all the way out. The wheel well was above my head, and the leaf springs were still touching the axle on the ground. So when they say long travel, they're not kidding. But yeah, I'm super happy with those. I was skeptical about, they're expensive leaf springs, so I was a little skeptical about if they would ride as good as what they claim for the price, but definitely well worth the money. I'm super impressed with those. Yeah, this should be a really good riding truck. Got the dual rate coils in the front, reservoir shocks, 4-link, soft ride leaves in the back, hook up some traction bars, and this thing should ride really good for being a 10-inch lifted 79 Ford. And that brings me to another issue I was having with this thing. I had drove around a couple times just in the yard and like around the driveway and stuff, and for some reason I could not figure out why the speedometer didn't work at all. I worked right toward the donor truck apart. I had everything hooked up, I thought, and put a new speed sensor in it. The only thing I was thinking was, because those are 2008 axles and I have a 2003 speed sensor in it, I was thinking maybe that was the issue. But I mean, I had done several conversions on OBSs, and even when I used the OBS speed sensor, I never had this issue before. I couldn't figure it out. So the 6.0 Powerstroke page on Facebook is actually very helpful. They figured out what my issue was just by posting what problems I was having. And yeah, they were like, oh, there's a really good chance you don't have your ABS hooked up. I'm like, well, I have the ABS module plugged in. Like, I don't know what else I'd be missing. They said there's a yellow ground wire in the front. I think it's yellow. Let me double check. Sorry, it's a green ground wire in the front up by the headlights that I didn't have hooked up. I didn't realize it was a ground for that. Yeah, if I went through and chased all my wiring down here, I figured the ground on the back of the frame was what grounded out the speed sensor. But it goes through the ABS module, and the ground's all the way up in the front by the headlights. So, yep, that was a simple fix. I missed that. Hooked that up. Now I got my speedometer works on the dash and on my CTS3. So that was nice because that got the trans shifting right. Before, when it didn't know the speed, the trans was shifting really hard and it was acting really weird. So I was glad to get that straightened out. I actually did get to drive up and down the road. So that was pretty cool, but obviously couldn't go too far. I don't have mirrors or lights on this thing. So, but just took it like 1/4 mile down the road and back. I live out in the country, so not a big deal. But it was pretty exciting to drive this thing for the first time. And another cool thing about when I hooked up that ground, before I had this weird issue where I would shut the truck off and then like, somewhere between 15 to 30 seconds later, the dash would kick back on, like the speedometer and the door dinger and the radio and stuff would all kick back on. And I couldn't figure out what it was. I figured it was the ignition was bad or something, but it was weird because it didn't do it in the donor truck. But it had something to do with that ABS module ground, because I hooked that up and that problem went away. It's never done it since then. So I leave the batteries hooked up all the time and it doesn't drain them down. So it was just a fluke thing. So if you're having issues like that, speedometer's not working and your dash is randomly powering on by itself, look at that ABS ground wire. Another thing I did was I got my final bed mounts finished up. You can see them here in the back, these rear ones. I didn't make them when I made the front ones because these leaf spring hangers are in the way, and the way these are shaped, how it wraps around the frame like that, I couldn't do that here. And I was still debating on whether or not I was doing air ride. So I waited until I figured out what I was doing for suspension, because if I was doing air ride, the shackle wouldn't be there, and I'd be able to do the same style mount in the back here. But since I kept the leaves, I just drew up some new mounts so they didn't wrap around the frame. I don't have those fully welded in yet, they're just welded on this one side. But yeah, so that was the last two mounts I needed for the bed. So that's fully mounted, all the mounts are done, bolted down. Brings me to this next thing. So the next thing I did was this this door doesn't open like a tailgate. Like basically you undo the latches and the thing tilts out and then pops off. I wanted it to open like a tailgate because I want to mount a nitrous bottle in there, so at shows and stuff I can just pop the thing open and leave it open and, you know, show off the mounts in there. But so yeah, I ended up getting some tailgate hinges from OBS Ford. Made custom mounts for them, so now this thing, undo the latches and it pivots open and kind of tucks underneath the bed a little bit, and it opens like a tailgate now. I still have to make a strap for it so it doesn't just drop all the way down, but yeah, it's pretty nice because when I open it, I can open it at 90 degrees and I'll make a strap so it stops there, and then if you undo the strap you can drop it down farther and you can still pop this door off kind of like a tailgate. So yeah, I'll open this thing up and show you what I made. Yeah, so this took quite a bit of time to get everything figured out, just because trying to get the pivot point figured out to where it would swing down far enough so it wouldn't hit the corners of the bed here, and making it so it still, when it pivots up, it'd close and be flush with the door. It took quite a bit of time. I originally made the brackets out of just some thin 16th steel I had laying around. Then I went through and finished up these brackets. Made them out of thicker steel. I still gotta trim this one up a little bit on the top, it's a little too big. But yeah, those will be coming off to get powder coated pretty soon. But yeah, as you can see here, pivots just like a tailgate now. So I'm gonna make a strap there. I don't know if I want to do like a chain or do like a tailgate cable. I thought about doing a hydraulic strut, but I want it to be able to come on and off quick. I don't know why, but since I have this thing set up to come off like a tailgate, I don't want to have to undo bolts to get the struts undone. So yep, that's what I got done on this thing. I'm gonna cut out a piece of diamond plate aluminum to cover this whole thing, so you won't see this like recessed area. It'll just be flat all the way across here. Hopefully people don't try to sit on it. But yeah, I'm gonna make mounts to have a nitrous bottle in there, and I'll probably hook it up to the engine, but mostly I'll probably just do purge valves and it'll just be a show thing. I don't really, you know, this thing obviously isn't going to be a drag truck on 40s, so anymore just for looks. But I had to put something in there. It'd be pretty cool. I'll just do another quick shot of this thing opening and closing. Yeah, lines up nice there. It's open nice, clears everything. Yeah, it's pretty hard to get everything to clear with these rods that tuck underneath the bed. So the way this thing opened before, this thing would have stuck out probably another 4 or 5 inches, but the way I made these mounts, it kind of pivots underneath the bed. So yeah, pretty slick. That took quite a bit of time, but I think it was well worth it by the time it was done. So just got to finish up some mounting straps and that project will be done. Yeah, I think that's one thing that'll be really unique about this truck. Even myself, I didn't even know that this existed before I built this truck. These super camper special beds. So that's definitely something that's going to set this truck apart, especially because it's a crew cab with a super camper special bed. So this truck was never even built from the factory, but yeah, it'll be one of a kind for sure. I'm super excited about it. Yeah, as you can see, I started sanding some of this stuff down. There's quite a bit of flaky paint, so I got one of them drum sanders, the Contour finishing drum sander, and went through and sanded down everything with just 120 grit, broke a lot of that loose paint off. I didn't do the whole truck yet. I'm gonna keep going on it actually after this video. So I got the door, most of this side of the bed. My body guy came over. This side of the bed was like bowed in. So we straightened that out before we took the truck apart so we get it lined up with the cab. There was a really big dent here that he got popped out and straightened out. So yeah, I'll show you the other work he did on the front of the cab too. So yeah, I still got to go through and seeing this side of the truck, but yeah, he did a really good job getting this straightened out. This was caved in pretty bad. He worked on this for quite a while. I do have the piece of metal that I had to cut out here to get the door on originally because this was pushed back so far. So we got to weld that back in. He's going to come over and finish working on this. He just couldn't get it quite where we needed it because I didn't have the hood aligned properly. So that was my task after he left. I had to line this hood up better, which led to me having to take everything back off. I had to take the fender off, the hood off, the fender apron, and that mount. That mount was up too high, and it was because it was hitting my HVAC fan box there. So I had to take the bracket off, modify it so I could get it to suck down lower. And then after I modified that, went to put the fender apron on, and that was hitting the HVAC box. I had to modify the fender apron and the box a little bit, but I got that lined up, got the bolt holes drilled in it. Yep, got that all squared away. So he's gonna come back over here pretty soon and straighten out this edge, get it nice and perfect with the hood. And as you can see, this kind of dips down still in the front, so we gotta bring this up a little bit. But yep, he did a really good job. He was a little skeptical if he'd be able to do it, but I had another section of a cab cut out in case we had to replace this cowl. But he's like, let me try this first. It'll be a lot less work if we can get this straightened out. And he did a really good job. I was super impressed. I didn't think he'd be able to get it, but he did. So I don't have the hood totally mounted perfect, but it's pretty close with this top here. Like I said, this needs to come up a little bit, so that'll bring these lines up. I do want to modify this a little bit, try to suck it down a little closer to this fender. But pretty close for, you know, this is just a rough fit. Everything's coming back apart, so not too big of a deal. It's not totally lined up yet, but we just want to get it close. That way we know after it's painted, we go to put it back together, that we were close before. So, and this side lines up pretty good over here. Got a little tighter gap in the front there, but like I said, we're not trying to make this thing perfect right now. There's no point spending all those hours of making this thing perfect if it's coming back apart. But yeah, it's pretty nice to see this thing as a full complete truck, and it runs and drives. Like I said, I took them down the road before. It's I'm getting pretty excited about it. And I know someone's gonna bring it up. I have been looking at those CVF billet aluminum hood hinges because I do have more adjustment in them. I don't know if I want to spend $600 on a set of hood hinges, but I am considering them just because if it gets me more adjustability, it might save me when I go to put this thing back together. So I think I'm going to hold off for now until the truck's painted and going back together. And then if I run into an issue where I can't get the hood lined up as good as I want it, then I'll probably pull the trigger on them. They are super nice. I do love the look of them, but just a lot of other stuff I'm spending money on in this truck that's hard to justify spending $600 on hood hinges. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. It's definitely something I'm considering. I do love the look of them, and I think it would really pop on this truck. But so we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So I got most of the engine bay tied up. Some other things I just did was I made these mounts here for the battery hold downs. I just did a riv nut in the fender, another riv nut down there in the fender apron I made. So yeah, those are gonna get powder coated, obviously. Did the same thing over here on this side. Yep, battery hold down goes across, same thing. Riv nut down into that fender apron I made. And made this little thing here, which I need to adjust it so it's centered in this hole a little better. But what this is my windshield washer reservoir. Just a small little guy. Obviously this truck won't be driven in the rain or nothing too much, so didn't need nothing crazy. The factory Super Duty one was way too big to fit in here. You know, this is what I originally wanted to do, was have the factory one with the neck come up a little bit so the cap was right here. But it was way too big to fit in this area here in the fender. So I just ordered this billet aluminum one online and made some mounts for it, drilled a hole to the top of this thing. And like I said, I just need to modify it to get it centered a little better. But that's a pretty slick location for it. I know everyone's gonna ask what the heck that's for. You can kind of see the bottle in there, but yeah, nice, clean, out of the way. And it's, like I said, just a small one, just enough for hitting some bugs or something during the summer. I can spray the windshield if I want to, but like I said, most times the truck will be clean and on a trailer, so I hardly ever used it on my last, my white crew cab OBS, so I don't think I'll be using it too much on this one. One other thing I'm considering doing that someone brought up to me, which would be pretty cool, was to get rid of this degas bottle, which I planned on making a mount for and sucking it back closer to the cab. But someone else brought up that I should just delete it and put a, you know, you can get the weld-in caps for the top of the radiator, but I would still need an overflow tank, and I don't know that I have a good spot for an overflow tank unless I put it over here or something. But I'm not too sure. I'm pretty sure your overflow tanks have to be higher than your radiator. So if I put one there, it'd be lower, and I don't think it'd work properly. This is something that just started crossing my mind last night, so I haven't quite figured out the details yet. But if I do keep the factory one, I'm actually gonna get one of the billet aluminum ones. I'll make a mount to suck it back closer to the firewall and have to modify the hoses and stuff. But if I, yeah, like I said, if I keep the factory style one, I'll get a billet one, powder coat it to match everything on the engine bay when I do that. But yeah, if anyone knows if the coolant reservoir has to be above the radiator, let me know. Like I said, I just started looking into this, so I haven't got to research it yet, but just something I'm considering. I'm also considering getting a billet reservoir for this, getting rid of this plastic one, but we'll see. A lot of things up in the air still, but making good progress on this thing. So that's kind of where I'm at with this thing. Like I said, it doesn't look like I accomplished much on it because the truck kind of looks the same, but it's just a lot of tedious stuff where I'm taking stuff on and off, on and off, on and off, measuring, take it back off, put it back on, measure, take it off, but you know, all that kind of stuff. But we should be making some big progress here soon since the painter's involved and ready to go now. We'll start stripping this thing down pretty quick so he can get started on the body work. And while he's doing all that, I got a guy lined up to sandblast the frame. I got him, you know, informed that this is gonna be coming pretty soon, so he's ready for the frame to sandblast that, bring it back here. I'll paint it probably the same day he finishes sandblasting it, so I don't worry about any surface rust or anything like that. I already started sandblasting and powder coating some of the parts I had extras of. Like I had extra coil buckets, so I sandblasted, powder coated those. The spring purchase for the bottom, sandblasted and powder coated. I had extra leaf spring hangers, all the exhaust hangers already sandblasted and powder coated. So kind of getting ahead of the game while I was waiting on my painter. Yeah, well, it's getting painted, get the frame sandblasted, painted, cut out my suspension, get all that stuff powder coated, and all that'll be brand new steel, so I don't have to worry about, you know, sitting there wasting time sandblasting all the rust and stuff off it. But yep, should be making a lot of progress real soon. Got this cabinet over here is full of brand new parts for this thing. Got my head studs, new injectors, new intercooler hoses, not intercooler, radiator hoses and stuff from Mishimoto. Just full of new parts, lights, everything. So got a lot of stuff stockpiled, ready to go for it. So hopefully we start making some big progress real soon. I'll keep you guys in touch. So thanks for watching. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you guys want to watch the build closer, I post a lot more on Instagram. It's diesel_Doug_21 on Instagram. So yeah, if you want to follow closer, get, you know, more constant updates, go ahead and follow the truck there. And yeah, I'll try to keep you guys posted as we make progress on this thing, do videos of tearing it down. I know a lot of people want more in-depth videos of the firewall and the dash mounting. So when I had the truck torn back apart, I'll go through and do better videos on that because I didn't get very good videos before because I didn't even do YouTube when I started putting this thing together. So yeah, thanks again, especially all my new followers and stuff. I think we're almost at 600 subscribers. And so I'm pretty excited about that. Like I said, I don't post on here as often as I should. So thank you guys for being patient with me. But like I said, I just get out here and just start working on stuff. And YouTube videos slow me down a little bit. So I try to make separate days where I go through and just do an update on things I've already done. But yep. So thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video.